Namaskar. Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host Sri Iyer. Well, Xi Jinping is in Moscow meeting with Putin. What could have been discussed, what was discussed, and what will be discussed. We have a person who can see through all this stuff, all the clouds and mist, and give us the way it is. Elmer Yuen is joining me to tell us all about what is happening right now in Moscow. Elmer, namaskar and welcome to PGurus channel. How are you?
Thank you for inviting me, Sri. And I'm in Washington. You have the right background, the Capitol Hill. This is my week of lobbying. I'm lobbying for Hong Kongers, not communists. We are normal Hong Kong people to have a referendum of self-determination because we used to be a colony. When you decolonize, you have the rights, according to United Nations, to have a referendum of self-determination, decolonized from the British. And also, I'm also lobbying for the Hong Kong Parliament, an elected Hong Kong Parliament, which is, your citizens of India understand most. I mean, this is exactly how your nation was formed. But anyway, today you asked me to talk about Xi Jinping's visit to Russia, to Putin. And I'm the right person to ask. First of all, I live in China over 20 years, 10 years Beijing, 10 years Shanghai, and plus my 7 years of childhood. And then I also have business in Russia. All right, I have probably about 2 or 3 companies in Russia. I'm very, very involved with the energy business in Russia. So I know the chemistry between Russia and China. Now, let's go back a little bit to the Winter Olympics in Beijing. That was called a secret engagement between, in India you have a marriage, right? And a very complicated and long process. I think probably same in China. So first you have to have an engagement, right? So the engagement was made during Winter Olympics, just before Winter Olympics. In Beijing, when Putin flew into Beijing and met with Xi Jinping for a few hours. And in fact, what they were talking about was already an alliance, that Putin will invade Ukraine right after the Olympics. And Xi Jinping will do the same to Taiwan, so that US and the NATO will have 2 fronts to deal with, right? And that was a classic alliance. So right after the Olympics, Putin actually delayed his attack until after the Winter Olympics in Beijing, and then start invading. So everything they said, no problem, I can do it. The unfortunate fact is, on the 3rd day of invasion, it's obvious to the whole world, it's a disaster. It's a disaster. He thought people are going to line up the street and wave Russian flag and welcome the soldiers in, all right, and then give up the rule, and then Zelensky would have flown out of Ukraine, like what happened in Afghanistan, right? Like the president of Afghanistan, and then he would be welcomed in, and this is like a piece of cake. So what happened? Of course, it didn't happen. It was totally out of control. And even Xi Jinping was shocked. All right. So he thought this is a walk-in, it's a nothing, just. So really, it affects Xi Jinping's decision on Taiwan. He thought he's going to make some trouble in Taiwan. So they have 2 fronts. And of course, they may not win, but they may end up with a stalemate and with a settlement talk or negotiation, right? So that was a disaster. But why Xi Jinping now? Most people discuss about gain and economic gain or interest. This is not a deal of economic gain. Xi Jinping has a idea. In fact, it's about 10 years ago when he started to be the party general secretary. It's more than 20 years, he's been saying repeatedly, when the Soviet breakup, he said, how come there's not a man stood out and hold the country together? Repeatedly, you can find out on Google, this is what he said. which means Xi Jinping feel very kind of, this is the communist dream, is global domination. They want communism to be global domination. And what he felt at that time, Soviet was considered as number one brother, as a big brother. And China was considered as second big brother. And then, of course, the rest of the East, other countries, African countries, and the East European, and so on and so forth. That was their camp, the communist camp. All right. And when the Soviet Union capitulate and break up, this is suddenly they have lost all leadership. I mean, it's a collapse of the communist camp, not only a breaking up of Soviet. So Xi Jinping, who is a communist, all right, and he said, "Wow, what a pity! What a pity! How come there was no man to really hold on to this empire, this huge empire?" So what really happened? So this is his mentality. Means if he were the man, he would have done this. You understand this? We have to understand Xi Jinping to understand what's going to happen in the world. Because believe it or not, he is the most influential man right now for global geopolitics. So what is his dream? Please, we have to understand what is his dream. His dream is the standard dream. The same dream as Hitler, same dream as Stalin, same dream as Mao. They want the communist camp to have global dominance, expanding. That was the whole idea. The Vietnam War, the Korean War, all this was their expansion, right? And they, unfortunately, the Gorbachev breakup was terrible for them. Now he has a chance to regain it. Not only to this whole thing can happen again. Look at the Asian bloc, all right, Asian bloc, and look at the European bloc, which Russia, of course, is a dominant part. And Asian bloc between Russia and China is very big. They own the African bloc, right? They own the African bloc. They also now very, very influential in South America. Look at it. Brazil, President of Brazil is going to Beijing next in about 10 days, all right, for a 6-day visit. Very serious. 6-day visit is not just a ceremonial visit. It's a real business visit. They want to get together. Yeah, they really want to get together.
Is he going to go up and down the Great Wall of China a few times?
No, they are talking about alliance. Might be like an electric vehicle, this kind of huge joint venture, because Brazil has a huge population, it's a huge market, and plenty of resource. So in South America, you have Brazil, you have Argentina, which owes a lot of money to China. There are few military bases in Argentina, Venezuela, and Chile. Chile, 90% of Chile's copper goes to China, and Chile, as we know, its biggest business is copper. So can you see the 4 biggest country in South America already is leaning to China. So this is really the axis of the modern world. This is axis. So talking about North Korea, China, Russia, Iran, and then the whole of Africa, and then the most of South America. This is their strength. Please understand, looks like they have disaster in the economy and so on. But if they group together, this is stronger than the Soviet time, right? Much stronger than the Stalin time. So now Xi Jinping's view, he's going to be the leader of this because Putin lost the war, and then he's at China's mercy to supply weapons and supply money and supply all the war materials. So Xi Jinping has a great opportunity to be the emperor of this bloc of the Axis countries. So he is going to do it at all costs. Economy, the whole Chinese economy, people, lives, and so on. He's going to do it at cost. So we have to understand where he comes from. It has nothing to do with the economy of China or so on. This is not important. The important is he believes that this is the best opportunity for him to become the biggest dominant part, to dominate more than half of the world. And look at the financial crisis in the world, not only in US, all right? The banking crisis. The banks, the banks are always holding US Treasury as their reserve, right? Nobody's going to hold cash. Cash does not generate interest. So all the banks are using US Treasury as their most important reserve, right? They get deposit and they convert most of it into US Treasury. That's what happened. They used to have a Treasury with very low interest. Now suddenly the interest is getting higher. So that's why the banks are in trouble. That in fact the Federal Reserve is competing with these banks for money because you buy Treasury, you get a better higher interest. All right, you put your money in the bank, you get almost nothing. So, but anyway, that's not the point. The point is China still hold almost 1 trillion US Treasury, right? And we all understand China wants the RMB to become a reserve currency without success. They've been trying that for a long time. They've been hoarding gold in the last 50 years. They never sold any gold. There are many big gold companies, all right, and they've been buying. And now, in the last few months, they've been taking physical deliveries, all right, because they need the gold to back up the RMB. They've already made agreement with Iran and Saudi and so on. But we will we will pay you. We will buy your oil and gas with RMB. All right. So let's say
Is
you are
it
Saudi Arabia.
RMB? Is it RMB or digital RMB backed by gold?
No. Let's talk about RMB first. We have not gone
Okay.
to the digital yet. All right.
Okay.
Now this is what digital or not digital. I mean, when you deal with foreign country, they have to accept it because you're not dealing with your country. You can tell them to accept anything. But when you deal with Saudi Arabia, they say, "Oh, we want to buy your oil and gas with RMB, Qatar, Iran, United Emirates, and so on." But anyway, they say very good. Then we have your RMB. We receive RMB, and then we will buy your Chinese product, which is quite a lot. Right? I mean, China does produce many varieties of goods suitable for their country. There's a different. It's not the first class goods, but it's a very commodity type of goods. So after they buy, they say, I still have RMB left. What do I do? China said, don't worry. This is backed up by gold. If you hold it for too long, you can come and then we'll give you gold. You can take gold as delivery. So this is how they want to put RMB, to make RMB become a trading currency and also an international reserve currency by backing up with gold. Now, suddenly, the entire world have a banking crisis. And the banks have their reserve in US Treasury, right? It's paying pretty good interest. But all the banks are not very liquid these days because everybody's withdrawing their cash and buy US Treasury themselves. They don't need to teach a financial genius to do that. Anybody, even my kids are doing this, all right? Are buying US Treasury, get 4 to 5%, all right? And sometimes even higher. In US, the government sometimes will pay you higher. I think you have something like 10,000 per person. They pay you almost like 9%. All right, they give you the inflation. They give you 2% above inflation, right? In US, up to 10,000 per person. But anyway, that's not the point. The point is, what if China start to dump the US Treasury? 1 trillion Treasury. If they dump even half, it's going to cause a huge banking crisis or a financial crisis globally. So this is a moment of weakness. In fact, it's suddenly, I'm sure this weekend, and this past weekend, the whole week, they've been in meetings. I mean, the White House has been in meetings. They're talking to Buffett to try to support the market and so on. There's a crisis in Europe, in of course Switzerland, and so on and so forth. We know all about this, Deutsche Bank and Credit Suisse. But that's not about the point. Is there's a moment of weakness, and if Xi Jinping really know his game, politics, this is the moment to attack the West. So anyway, all in all, the alliance and the axis, the two camps, the global camp has been formed. And Xi Jinping went to Moscow to claim his title as the leader of the Axis camp. This is what I see as the world, as the world right now. Right? It's not just a visit. It's a visit he will risk anything, because this is really he's going to be the emperor of the Axis camp. This is how I see it. He would risk anything to be in that role. And he would bankrupt China, doesn't give a damn. China is not his aim. His ambition is global. And I don't think Putin has a choice. Putin have no choice. He's lost the war entirely. Now he's at Xi Jinping's mercy. Right? He's been begging Xi Jinping to come as early as possible. And then Xi Jinping knows his value. I mean, these communist people, they know about power. So he is going to claim the leader of the Axis.
Well,
so that's what I think.
If China dumps the US Treasury bills, what are the options that US has on its hands? Because there will be consequences. It's not going to be just like that let alone. US is not going to sit quiet. What do you think they'll do?
Yeah, of course. No, they will try to soak it up to buy them off. But it can cause a tremendous disruption, because all the bank's reserve will drop. I mean, value of their reserve will drop, right? Because once you sell, the price go down and the thing will drop. It's going to cause a tremendous disruption. This is Chinese mentality. I'm a couple of years older, 3 years older than Xi Jinping. I know his mentality. All right, they don't miss much an opportunity to attack. All right, attack the West, and also to establish RMB as the reserve currency. They have been working very hard. As you know, they used to be a BRIC bank, and then they changed the name to New Development Bank. This whole thing was trying to replace the World Bank or IMF. They have their own business, and they have their own plan to dominate the global economy. And this is an opportunity for them to come in. I'm not saying that they will succeed, but they will not miss an opportunity to attack, because this will not cost them anything. Right now, in fact, what's going to happen is if they do that, gold price will go up, and the gold reserve will be worth a lot more. I think you are in the States. You already see all the capital markets talking about gold may go up, maybe a big jump in value. And people don't know what to trust anymore. You want to trust US dollars? They're printing so much, all right? And the banks are in trouble. So I've been advising everybody to convert to US dollars. Now I'm a little bit shaky because of this banking situation. If the banks have problem, US dollar is a problem, and what to do, what to trust. And of course, the Jewish mentality is in war, you trust gold.
But Elmer, let me ask you an important question. See, one reason why the RMB was not taken seriously by the world was because the world felt that China overprints its currency 6 times same note, 6 serial numbers, which means they were essentially overprinting. Whatever you accuse US of today, that is what China was doing for several years. So why should Saudi Arabia take China seriously today?
Now, US used to be the biggest customer for Saudi Arabia for oil. We know that, right? So the oil tank has been. Now they don't need the Saudi oil anymore. US under Trump is already self-sufficient. They have fracking. They have fracking oil and have fracking gas. So suddenly, if you are Saudi Arabia, you've lost your biggest customer. Who next besides China? China, believe it or not, uses more oil than United States because of the population and the number of cars and so on and so forth. China is a huge market for oil. And for all the oil company, one time we are going to talk about oil business in worldwide, all right? Because for all the oil company, their dream is to get into the China market. In fact, this is, one day we'll talk about it. This is what happened to the Hunter Biden, all right? And CECF and all that thing has everything to do with oil, big oil, and the Chinese market. This is the whole Hunter Biden and then Biden and so on and so forth is on one thing. US wants to get into the Chinese market. And also they want to control. US want to take down Putin and control the Russian energy. The biggest energy country in the world is Russia. I mean,
Right.
the whole Middle East add together is less than Russia's reserve. So if US can take down Putin, control Russia, supply to China, this is their dream.
A very interesting
Control
set of
China market.
equations here. Yes,
Yeah,
indeed.
and of course, your country is taking a lot of benefit by getting it cheap,
Well,
getting
see,
oil
look at
cheap.
one thing that India has managed to do and Modi has managed to do is to keep the inflation under very good control in India. Prices haven't gone up. Things are quite good. So he may not be able to make the rupee rise against the dollar, but he has also not allowed your expenses to go up. So therefore, the inflation is not as bad as it is perhaps in the United Kingdom or other places where it has just gone completely berserk. See, Saudi Arabia
Let me
also has an
interrupt you.
option to, yeah.
I must interrupt you. Siri, you are living in a peaceful world. The communists are not. The communists are believe they are still at war with the rest of the world. You are living in a peaceful world. You want to improve people's living. You want the country's economy to be in good shape and have growth. It's a totally different mentality. When you are dealing with such enemy, you don't talk about economy. You talk about winning or losing. I beat you or you beat me. It's a game of survival. Unfortunately, I'm not against you, all right? Because US, the free world is living in peace. But these guys are living in war. They want a global dominance. Their mentality never stops. China has been fighting US for the last 100 years. Who is the biggest? Look at the Chinese publicity. Who is the biggest enemy for CCP? USA. Never stopped. All their enemies, China will support all USA is enemy, terrorists, all countries. So we need to your audience, my Indian friends, please understand. I'm not saying you're wrong. You're perfectly right because that's what people elect you for to improve their livelihood. But these guys are not elected. They have ambition bigger than anything. They want to be Napoleon. They want to be Alexander. They want to be Hitler. They want to be Yamamoto. This is their dream. They live in a different world. Sorry to interrupt you.
Not at all. I mean, we are having a very good conversation here as to how people's mindsets are. And I think we have to wait and see what happens because the world is thinking that Xi Jinping is going to tell Putin, I will give you moral support, but beyond that, I cannot give you any support.
I disagree. I disagree. He will go all the way. Now, Sari, you are thinking about interest, all right? Oh, China's interest, Russia's interest, it's going to cost money to support it. No. If you want global domination, you don't care about cost.
Because the whole world is yours after that, if you win.
Exactly. I mean, people like us talking about the stock market, all right? The stock going up and down. What does he care? The company is in China. Whether you are worth $100 a share or $0 a share, the company is still in China. What does he care? You see, this is the problem with us. The property price, all right? The property price go up and down. What does he care? The property is sitting in China. It's not going away. This is our problem. This is the problem with most critics, like us, because we live in a different world. We value things differently. He doesn't care. As long as it says, all right, 100 million people died. What does it matter? He has less 100 million people less to feed. This is his thinking, which is totally different from ours. Please understand. Right. You know how many people die in the COVID this time, the elderly people? We're talking about tens of millions. And in fact, he thinks it's a good idea because the elderly people, they are not productive, all right? And they die, and people will die sooner or later. Now, if they die sooner, it will cost the country less money. And they will promote more young people to replace the old. This is their thinking. We are thinking that we need the vote from the elderly person. I'm sorry, no, I'm Chinese, all right? I have the same blood. Sorry, their element in it is not very kosher. It's not very good. But I understand the thinking because I was born in the same country. I left China when I was 7, and I know what they're thinking because we have the same genes.
Last couple of questions. This is really interesting conversation, and I don't want to let go because we're really having a great conversation. Do you think Elon Musk will accept RMBs for his Teslas manufactured in Shanghai?
Right now, Elon Musk is getting hell of a deal. All right, his profit he can take out in US dollar. China is doing everything to accommodate him. All right, so he has huge success. 60 or 70% of his corporate profits, Tesla's profit, in fact, come from one Shanghai factory. The cost is lower, the production quantity is very big. Now, of course, but on the other hand, he's not that stupid. He never paid 1 penny to that Shanghai factory. Everything, land, startup capital, cash flow, everything provided by China, free of charge. So he's been ripping profit left, right, and center from the Shanghai factory. And China want him to depend on China. All right, China want Elon Musk to depend on China. And you can see that they're willing to do it because they understand how important is Elon Musk, especially with the Starlink. Yes, basically Elon Musk controls the space. Nobody else, not the US government. The dominating of the space is Elon Musk. And imagine today in the information age how important is space. It's much more important than optical fiber. Optical fiber costs money. This thing is for free. There is no connecting cost. So this is huge. They want to buy Elon Musk. But as we know, Elon Musk is very, very independent and free thinkers. So there's going to be a war. All right. Right now, China still think they have to invest in Elon Musk, but they don't. They now, of course, his acquisition of Twitter and so on is making China already seeing that maybe we are not going to be successful. So right now, they are in the process of deciding. China is the ones whether they're going to invest or more on Elon Musk, or it's going to be a loser, a long-term loser. No, this is very important. I know the game exactly. So Elon Musk so far is winning, but Elon Musk is not stupid. He's starting a factory in Mexico and everywhere to balance the Chinese Shanghai factory. But it's not easy because I'm from Shanghai. I know how Shanghainese worked, and I know all the Shanghai engineers and the communist organizer. They can run a factory you cannot believe. Nobody in the world can compete with a Shanghai production line. And also they can tell their suppliers. All right, I think 60% of the component for the Tesla cars are made in China, in Shanghai. They can tell their suppliers what price to charge. So this whole thing is control. You understand? This whole so-called profit is artificial. It's try to get Elon Musk at all costs. Now you understand. Communists have nothing to do with making money. All we know is how to make more money. But Chinese is how to control, how to dominate, how to spread their influence. It's a totally different currency.
Yes, indeed. And I can go on. There are so many questions to ask, but I think, Elmer, thank you so much. If you're going to be here for some more time, maybe we'll catch up again later part of the week or early next week to see how things go. Because by that time, you would have returned back to China, and let's see how things go. Thanks once again. Viewers, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Elmer would love to hear from you. Do put in your comments on what you think of this conversation. And as always, a pleasure having you, Elmer. Namaskar.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you again, Suri.